Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're hearing these crazy reports according to The Athletic. Tony Jones, and I believe it is the other one, I believe it is Sam Amek. They're reporting that Denver Nuggets are very interested in Zach LaVine, mainly. Then Jordan Poole, they've had exploratory talks with the Wizards about. Jonas Valanciunas, Jordan Clarkson with the Utah Jazz, DeAndre Hunter with the Atlanta Hawks, and Cam Johnson, saying that their interest in Zach LaVine is significant. Quote, the Nuggets have either expressed interest in or have had preliminary trade discussions on the following players. As we said, Chicago's Zach LaVine, Washington's Jordan Poole and Jonas Valanciunas, Utah's Jordan Clarkson, Atlanta's DeAndre Hunter, and Brooklyn's Cam Johnson. League sources say their focus is on Zach LaVine, and recent discussions is significant, according to Tony Jones and Sam Amek. And from looking at it, it seems to be that it would have to be Michael Porter Jr. But before we continue, hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this. We cover all the teams, and we do content for hoopshype.com, so go check out hoopshype.com, USA Today's sports basketball page. Now, from what I understand from the sources I've talked to, is it's the Nuggets, basically the way I look at it. I ask some people who have good sources saying, is this real? And if they were shopping Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray. And it seems like it would more likely be, as of right now, Michael Porter Jr., but it just doesn't seem likely because Brian Windhorst and others said that there's no market for Zach LaVine, and now there is. This just seems kind of out of the blue. And Michael Porter Jr. being traded, that makes sense. But for Zach LaVine, I don't know. And that's what I was told by a source. And I said, I threw out, it makes more sense. Instead of trading Zach LaVine, it would make more sense if the Nuggets were really desperate that they would package Michael Porter Jr. and a young asset like Peyton Watson and a draft pick for a guy like Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith and maybe a Duran Sharp, and then you try to flip Zeke Nanji for Vasilij Micic, and you get multiple players to bolster your depth instead of just selling Michael Porter Jr. solely for Zach LaVine. That's kind of like what I got. Why would you just do that? It doesn't make sense. And I want to hear your guys' on. What would you guys do? And I think that's the craziest thing, is because what we understand from this whole situation with Jamal Murray signing that 4-year, $208 million extension, I don't understand. Instead of Michael Porter Jr., if they really just are done with Jamal Murray, just send Jamal Murray out there for Zach LaVine. If you really just okay, Jamal Murray's done, we're trying to move on. But Michael Porter Jr. really is been your most consistent guy. So why move on from him? And I think that's the other thing, is all the other guys that we mentioned earlier makes more sense. And Jamal Murray, like Aaron Gordon, is not trade eligible until 6 months after the date that he signed, or they both signed their respective extensions. So as of right now, from what we understand, they would not be able to trade Jamal Murray until seems to be sometime in January. So given that the current situation, it makes sense for. I want to hear you guys' thoughts before we continue. Who do you think's gonna get traded? No, with all that being said, I think if you look at the rest of the situation, I think the same thing goes for a Jonas Valanciunas deal. I think it makes more sense that they package Michael Porter Jr. and Zeke Nanji for both Jordan Poole and Jonas Valanciunas. But either way, I just don't. At this point, it seems more worthy to trade Jamal Murray when he becomes trade eligible than it does for Michael Porter Jr. because they were having trade extension talks. So with that being said, I want to hear you guys' thoughts, because with Michael Malone being the head coach of the Nuggets, and obviously with Nikola Jokic averaging a triple-double and on his pace to be the third player after Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook to potentially average a triple-double for a season. The Nuggets are a team that prioritizes ball movement. I've said, look, I feel like Vasilija Micic is going to somehow end up on this team. And right now, this is a team that sits at 14-10. They're fifth in the Western Conference, and they're actively looking to make this team better. And as we said, the reports from the Athletic say that the Nuggets have expressed significant interest in trading for Zach LaVine, who's returned to being the efficient scorer that we know he can be, almost 22 points, 4.5 rebounds, just under 5 assists a game. And he could really be that reliable second option between Jokic and Jamal Murray, the two players who are currently shouldering the offensive responsibilities before and since they've won the championship. What it kind of seems like Michael Porter Jr. has surpassed Jamal Murray. Now, if you look at the team ranks 9th in points per game, 119.2, and they're first in assist point game. They're almost 31, largely due to Jokic, who's averaging 31 points, 9.9 assists, while Murray is averaging 18.5 points, 6 assists, and he has never gotten back to that bubble Murray status or how he played during that playoff run when they won. Now Zach LaVine's ability to play on ball or as a guy who can create off the dribble or use his athleticism off ball and be a slasher or even just a catch and shoot scorer would make this Nuggets offense way more dynamic, as his career 38% three-point shooting would help this team that is currently ranked 11th in its 30.5 three-point attempts per game. Plus, Zach LaVine's scoring versatility would help mitigate Denver's inconsistent shooting, as they're a team that is, yes, they're third in 49.4% from field goal percentage, and they're 38% from three, which is 7th, but their attempts are down. But the substantial $43 million contract just doesn't make it seem like it's worth it, in my opinion. And if they were to do it, I feel like it would be like Michael Porter Jr. for Zach LaVine, like a swap. But as I said before, I think Michael Porter Jr. was averaging 18.5 points, 7 rebounds, while shooting 38% from three. And Christian Braun, who looks like a legit dude, I just don't think you trade him. I think it makes more sense if you have a guy like Michael Malone, who's looking for a guy who prioritizes ball movement. I don't think Zach LaVine or Jordan Poole's isolation style scoring would help this team, especially the Nets struggle in creating offense during crunch time, as they're evidenced by their negative 2.4 net rating in clutch situations this season. Also, Michael Malone's a guy who loves defense, and the Nuggets would become worse defensively by having Zach LaVine. So, as I said, I don't think Jordan Poole, if they want a cheap option and to get multiple guys, or just try to do a 3-team trade, get Jordan Clarkson and Dorian Finney-Smith, or the deal that I said earlier about the Nets with Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. I just think even if they just resulted in just getting a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who's a cheaper veteran, who would bolster their bench scoring production, or flipping Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson and Deron Sharp, or Cam Johnson, whoever else on the Nets roster, would give him a similar sharpshooter who can do the same things that Michael Porter Jr. does, spacing-wise, but lacks the self-creation ability that a guy like LaVine does. And then Jonas Valanciunas, if you can flip Zeke Nnaji and like Jalen Pickett for Jonas Valanciunas, he's a low-cost option for the front court depth. I just think Denver's pursuit of Zach LaVine and other trade candidates coming out signals this team's intent to solidify their standing, or to expand or maximize this window. Like, Jokic is going to go down as a top 5 player in NBA history. And it would be a travesty, if he goes down with only one championship. And if they can get somebody, like, basically the best player available. Like, Jimmy Butler isn't getting traded. So, Zach LaVine is the only player, regardless what the risk is, that can make any team hypothetically better, and that he's available for trade, and he won't cost too much, and all you have to give up is matching salary and maybe trade sweetener. So whether Denver pulls the trade on a major trade like this or pivots to multiple alternative trade options, I think their activity on the trade market demonstrates their commitment to maximizing this trade window.